Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. My name is Chris. I'm a high school student, just like many others, but with a secret that I've kept hidden deep inside. As I walked through the crowded hallways of my school, I couldn't help but feel like I was wearing a mask, pretending to be someone I wasn't. Every day during breaks, I found myself drawn to the cheerleaders practicing in the schoolyard. There was something about the way they moved, their routines full of energy and grace, that captivated me. I would stand there, leaning against the wall, my eyes following their every move. It was more than just an admiration for their skill. I felt a deep connection to what they were doing, a longing to be part of it. In the privacy of my room, I often daydreamed about being one of them, wearing a cheerleader's outfit, feeling the fabric of the skirt swishing around my legs and my hair tied up in a high ponytail. These thoughts filled me with a strange sense of happiness, but also confusion. Why did I, a boy, feel this way? It was a question I struggled to answer. School was a challenge. I tried to fit in, to be one of the guys, but it always felt like I was playing a role. Conversations about sports and video games never really interested me, and I often found myself lost in thought, imagining a different life where I could be myself, whoever that was. My friends noticed that I was often quiet and distant.
"Hey, Chris, you okay, man?"
They would ask, giving me a concerned look. I would just nod and force a smile, not knowing how to explain the turmoil inside me. I felt alone in my thoughts, unable to share them with anyone. Back at home, I spent hours in front of my computer, researching quietly. I stumbled upon stories of people who felt just like me, people who were born in one body but identified with another gender. These stories resonated with me, but they also scared me. What did this mean for me? Was I like them? I looked at myself in the mirror, trying to imagine a different reflection staring back at me. My short hair, the plain t-shirts and jeans I wore, they all felt wrong, like a costume that didn't fit. In my mind's eye, I saw myself with long hair, wearing dresses and skirts. But the reality in the mirror was far from this image. The hardest part was the feeling of isolation. I couldn't talk to my friends about this. I was afraid they wouldn't understand, or worse, they would laugh at me. My parents, loving and caring as they were, had never shown any signs that they would understand something like this. So I kept it all inside, a silent battle I fought every day. Even in my loneliest moments, I held on to my dreams. At night, I would close my eyes and let myself be carried away to a world where I was free to be who I truly felt I was. In these dreams, I was no longer Chris, the awkward boy trying to fit in. I was someone else. Someone who could dance and cheer without fear of judgment. Someone who could express herself openly. These dreams were my only escape, a brief respite from the constant pretending. But they were just that, dreams. Every morning I would wake up and face the same reality, the same struggle. I longed for a change, for a chance to be true to myself, but I didn't know where to start or if I even had the courage to take the first step. I remember the day I decided to tell my mom everything. It was a regular evening and we were sitting in the living room. My mom was reading a book, and I was just staring at the floor, gathering my courage. My heart was beating so fast it felt like it was trying to escape my chest. "Mom," I started, my voice barely a whisper. She looked up from her book with a smile, but her smile faded when she saw my serious face. "What's wrong, Chris?" she asked, her eyes full of worry. I took a deep breath. "Mom, I have to tell you something important," I said, my hands shaking. "It's about how I feel inside." She put her book down and turned to face me completely. "You can tell me anything, Chris. You know that," she said gently. I nodded, trying to find the right words. "Mom, for a long time now, I've felt different. I don't feel like a boy. When I see myself, I don't see who I really am." I paused, struggling to continue. My mom waited, her expression calm but curious. "What do you mean, Chris?" I swallowed hard. I feel like I'm a girl, Mom. Inside, I feel like I should be a girl. I dream about it, think about it all the time. It's who I really am." There was a long silence. My mom looked at me, her face a mix of surprise and something else I couldn't quite understand. I was scared she might get angry or upset, but she just kept looking at me, thinking. Finally, she spoke. "Chris, this is a lot for me to take in. I'm not going to lie, it's surprising. But I want you to know that I love you, no matter what. We'll figure this out together, okay?" I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. "Really, Mom? You're not mad?" She shook her head. "No, I'm not mad. I just want you to be happy, that's all. But we need to talk more about this, understand it better. We might need to see a doctor or a counselor, someone who knows about these things." I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and nervousness. "Okay, Mom, I'd like that." The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. My mom did a lot of research, reading books and looking up information online. She found a counselor who specialized in gender issues and made an appointment for us. I was nervous about going to the counselor, but also a little excited. It felt good to finally be taking steps towards being who I really felt I was. The counselor's office was a small, cozy room with a comfortable couch. The counselor, Dr. Lee, was a kind woman with a gentle voice. She asked me a lot of questions about how I felt, what I dreamed about, and how long I'd felt this way. I answered as best I could, feeling a bit shy, but also glad to be talking about it. Dr. Lee listened carefully, nodding and making notes. After a while, she turned to my mom. "It's clear that Chris is experiencing gender dysphoria," she explained. "It means that the gender they were assigned at birth doesn't match how they feel inside." My mom listened, her face serious. "What do we do now?" she asked. Dr. Lee smiled kindly. "We take it one step at a time, Chris. It's important that you explore these feelings more, maybe start expressing yourself in a way that feels right to you. We can also discuss options like hormone therapy when you're ready." As we left the office, I felt like a new chapter of my life was starting. It was scary, but also exciting. I had my mom's support, and that meant everything. At home, I started experimenting with my appearance. I let my hair grow a bit longer, and my mom helped me pick out some clothes that were more feminine. It felt strange, but also right to wear them. I only dressed that way at home, though. School was different. I was still Chris, the boy, at school. I wasn't ready to show that side of me there yet. The thought of what the other kids would say or do scared me. But at home, I could be myself, even if it was just in my room. I'd look in the mirror and see a glimpse of the person I felt like inside. It wasn't easy, and sometimes I felt really confused and scared. But I knew I was taking steps towards being true to who I was, and that was a start. As the days passed, I started to understand more about who I was. Christina, not Chris. My room became my little world where I could be myself. My mom was amazing. She helped me pick out clothes that made me feel more like Christina. We would sometimes sit together and she would show me how to put on makeup. It was hard at first, but also fun. I had a small mirror in my room and I would practice in front of it. Putting on makeup felt like painting, but on my face. I learned about foundation, a kind of cream that made my skin look smoother, and mascara, which made my eyelashes look longer and pretty. My mom showed me how to choose colors that looked good with my skin and how to apply them so I didn't look like I was wearing a mask. The clothes were a big change, too. I had always worn boys' clothes like jeans and t-shirts. Now I had skirts and blouses in my closet. They felt different, lighter, and more flowing. I liked how they moved when I walked. It was strange at first, wearing these clothes, but it also felt right, like this was what I was supposed to wear. We also talked a lot about hormones. Mom explained that hormones were like messengers in my body that could help me look more like a girl. But it wasn't something we could just start. We had to talk to doctors and make sure it was safe. In the meantime, I let my hair grow. I always had short hair, but now I was growing it out. It was an awkward stage, not really short, but not long either. I couldn't wait for it to be long enough to style like a girl's. Every day after school, I would rush home, eager to change out of my boys' clothes and into Christina's clothes. It felt like taking off a costume and being myself. At home, I was Christina. But at school, I was still Chris. School was the same as always, but it felt different now. I was carrying a big secret, and it made me feel alone sometimes. I would see the other kids, the boys and girls, and wonder what they would think if they knew about me. Would they laugh? Would they be mean? I wasn't ready to find out. So, at school, I acted like nothing had changed. I was still Chris, the boy who was quiet and a bit shy. I talked to my friends, went to classes, and tried to act normal, but inside, I felt like I was hiding a huge part of who I was. It was confusing, living two lives. At home, I was happy being Christina, but at school, I felt like I was pretending. I wished I could just be myself all the time, but I was scared. I didn't know how people would react, and that fear kept me from showing the real me to the world. My mom was my biggest supporter. She was always there to talk, to listen, to help. She told me she was proud of me for being brave, for exploring who I was. That meant a lot to me. Having her support made everything a little bit easier. We kept going to see Dr. Lee, the counselor. She was nice and helped me understand my feelings. She said it was okay to take my time, to figure things out at my own pace, that there was no rush to decide anything right now. So that's what I did. I took my time, learning about Christina, about who I was when I wasn't Chris. It wasn't easy, but it felt right. Every day, I learned a little bit more about myself, about what it meant to be Christina. And even though I was scared about the future, about how people would react when the ones eventually found out, I knew I had to be true to myself. I couldn't hide forever. But for now, I was happy just being Christina at home, where I felt safe and loved. The school year finally ended, and summer began. For me, Christina, it was a special time. It was the summer of change. I had more time to be myself at home, and there was something big happening. I was going to start hormone therapy. This was a big step in my journey to becoming more like the girl I felt I was inside. Before starting the hormones, my mom and I went to see a doctor. The doctor was very kind and explained everything about the hormones. He said they would help my body change, making me look more like a girl. I was excited, but also a little nervous. It was a big change, but I was ready for it. The first day I took the hormone pills, I felt like I was starting a new adventure. I knew the changes wouldn't happen right away, but just taking that first step felt huge. My mom was there with me, holding my hand and smiling. She said she was proud of me, and that meant the world to me. As the days of summer went on, I started to notice little changes. My skin felt softer, and my body started to change shape slowly. It was like watching a slow magic trick, and every morning I would look in the mirror to see what was new. I also spent a lot of time practicing being Christina. I tried different styles of clothes, seeing what I liked best. My mom and I even went shopping for new outfits. It was fun, like playing dress up, but it was also serious. These were the clothes I would wear when I went back to school as Christina. One of my favorite things was learning how to do my hair. Now that it was getting longer, I could try different styles. My mom showed me how to use hair ties and clips. We even tried curling it one day, which was a lot of fun. I loved seeing how different I could look with just a change in my hairstyle. But it wasn't all easy. There were days when I felt scared about the future. How would my friends at school react when they saw me as Christina? Would they be kind or mean? My mom said that no matter what, she would be there for me, and that helped a lot. We also kept seeing Dr. Lee, the counselor. She was a big help. She told me it was normal to feel scared and that change can be hard, but it can also be good. She said I was brave for being true to myself. The summer wasn't just about changing on the outside. I was also changing on the inside. I was learning to be more confident, to believe in myself. I was still the same person I had always been, but now I was showing the world the real me. My mom and I talked a lot about what would happen when school started again. I decided I would go back as Christina, not Chris. It was a big decision, but it felt right. I wanted to be myself all the time, not just at home. As the summer ended, I looked back at how much had changed. I was different, but in a good way. I was more myself than I had ever been. I knew going back to school would be a big step, but I was ready. I had my mom's support, and I had learned to be brave. I picked out my outfit for the first day of school, a pretty blouse and a skirt that I loved. I was nervous, but also excited. It was like the first day of a brand new adventure. I was ready to be Christina at school, ready to show everyone who I really was. It was going to be a new beginning, and I was ready for it. "Are you ready, sweetheart?" my mom asked, peeking into my room. I nodded, trying to find my voice. "Yes, I'm ready," I said, but my voice sounded shaky. Mom gave me a reassuring smile. "You look beautiful," she said. "Remember, I'm here for you no matter what." As we drove to school, my stomach was filled with butterflies. What would everyone say? Would they recognize me? I took deep breaths, trying to calm my nerves. When we arrived, I took a moment before stepping out of the car. This was it. I took another deep breath and then walked towards the school entrance. My shoes clicked on the pavement, a sound that was both new and exciting. The school hallways were busy with students. I walked in, my eyes looking around. Some students glanced at me, and a few looked confused. I could hear whispers, but I tried to ignore them. I kept walking, my head held high. In my first class, when the teacher called out Chris during roll call, I raised my hand. "I'm Christina now," I said quietly. The teacher looked surprised, but then smiled and nodded. "Okay, Christina. Welcome," she said kindly. The day was a blur of classes, hallways, and faces. Some kids smiled at me, some looked away, and some seemed curious. I heard a few unkind words, but I tried not to let them bother me. Lunchtime came, and that was the hardest part. I walked into the cafeteria looking for a place to sit. I felt like everyone was watching me. Then I saw a group of girls I knew from my classes. They were whispering and looking at me. I hesitated, but then one of them waved me over. "Hi, Christina, you can sit with us if you want," she said. I was surprised but happy. I sat down with them, and they started asking me questions. They were nice about it, curious but not mean. It felt good to talk to them, to be accepted. The rest of the day went by faster. By the end of the day, I was exhausted but happy. I had made it through my first day as Christina at school. When I got home, I told my mom all about it. She listened and hugged me when I finished. "I'm so proud of you, Christina," she said. "You're so brave." The next few days became easier. I started to make new friends, and some of my old friends were still nice to me. Not everyone was kind, but I was learning to ignore the mean comments. I joined a club at school, the art club. I always liked drawing and painting, and the art club was a place where I felt really comfortable. The other kids in the club were different too, and they didn't judge me. We would talk about art, share our drawings, and laugh together. Months had passed since I first walked into school as Christina, and life had changed in ways I never imagined. It was like walking on a new path, one that felt right for me. Each day brought its own set of challenges, but also joys and new experiences. One of the biggest moments during this time was my visit to a doctor to talk about gender reassignment surgery. It was a big step, and I felt a mix of nervousness and hope. My mom came with me to the appointment, holding my hand as we sat in the waiting room. "Remember, Christina, you don't have to decide anything right now," my mom said gently. "Just listen and ask questions." When we met the doctor, he was very kind and patient. He explained the surgery, what it involved, and how it would help me align my body with my gender identity. He answered all our questions and told us to take our time thinking about it. After the appointment, Mom and I talked a lot about it. It was a big decision, and I wasn't sure if I was ready yet, but it felt good to have the information, to know what my options were. Back at school, I was settling into my new life. I had made some good friends, girls who liked me for who I was. We would hang out after school, do homework together, and talk about all sorts of things. They made me feel accepted and part of a group. I also became more involved in the art club. Art had always been a way for me to express myself, and now it felt even more important. I worked on a big painting, one that showed a girl looking into a mirror and seeing her true reflection. It was my way of showing my journey, my change. The painting was displayed in the school art show, and I felt proud and a little shy as people looked at it and complimented it. My mom came to the show, and I could see the pride in her eyes. She took pictures of me standing next to my painting, and I felt happy. Life wasn't always easy. There were still some kids who said mean things or didn't understand me, but I was learning to focus on the good things, on the people who supported me. I realized that not everyone would accept me, but that was okay. I had enough people who did, and that was what mattered. I had dreams for the future, like going to college and studying art. I wanted to travel, see the world, and keep expressing myself through my art. There were so many possibilities, and I was excited to explore them. I looked in the mirror one more time, smiling at my reflection. I was happy with who I saw, happy with who I was. And that was the best feeling in the world. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.